isn't on Google, it doesn't exist. Well, that's what most people say nowadays. The assumption being that each and every single piece of information right from the birth of mankind is available online. Especially when you're searching for specific places, more often than not, our online searches lead us to Wikipedia. And you know what? That's exactly where I was last evening. Well, I had to prepare for my ACT speech and bring history to life at Koramangala Toastmasters. But I'll be very honest with you guys. It's not really that big a task for me. I mean, you know me, I'm like a walking encyclopedia of stories. But the real challenge was to shortlist that one story for this project, which would blow your mind. Which story was I to choose? Shall I tell them the story about how Arjuna and Hanuman were once fooled by Krishna? No. I think I should narrate the tale of how somebody spotted Netaji attending Nehru's funeral. Everybody from Raja Raja to Great Ram, everybody had a story worth narrating. So I thought, the laptop right in front of me, and before I knew it, I wrote it. I had PPG. And guess who came down to pay me a visit? It was none other than Toastmaster Shiva from Toastmasters Club. So, Toastmaster Pramit lost attention. Again, what to do, my lord? I tried my best. Who wants to lose in this world? You know, I actually thought that I would win, and that is why I had registered for coronation. But now the entire money has gone to waste, my lord. Don't say like that. People cannot understand. Oh my lord, but for people I have to complete my ACT speech. What not a single story is coming to my mind. What are you saying? Don't you remember my story? Love story. Story, my love. Looks like old age is catching up. Nevertheless, I will leave you with a clue. This story is about the last time I came down to earth and appeared in somebody's dreams, just like what we are doing right now. And with that, Lord Shiva disappeared. And I woke up with a start. And now as I sat up in bed, drastically trying to remember the words and people connected with the story, only two words came to my mind. Shiva temple and Kanji. Without wasting a second, I started googling these terms, and soon I was on the Wikipedia page titled Brihadeshwara Temple, Kanji. I started reading the article, my heart full of excitement, because I knew that I had got my story and material for today's speech. So my speech actually starts now. 1,000 years ago, Raja Chola of the famous Chola dynasty decided to build a temple in the honor of Lord Shiva at Kanji. He wanted to make it the biggest temple the world has ever seen. Sculptors and artists were brought from each and every corner of the country. They would stand under the sun the entire day. They would work their lungs out, digging the earth and chiseling the stone. By evening, they would be completely exhausted. But next day, after a good night's sleep, they would again take the Lord's name and resume work. Just beside them, there lived an old woman called Azhagi. Azhagi also wanted to contribute to this cause, this temple. She wanted to do something for her king. She wanted to do something for her Lord. But she was poor, and most importantly, she was ill-health. What could she possibly do to contribute to this noble cause? Grandma, I'm very thirsty. Say, one grandson of Azhagi came suddenly inside her house. Well, technically he wasn't her grandson. She considered the entire village as a family, and they too reciprocated her feelings. There was hardly a child in Kanji who wouldn't come to old Azhagi's doorstep to drink a glass of the famous Pratim. So, how's the construction of the temple going on? Simply going on, Amma. They are putting stones after stones and chiseling gods and goddesses, all sitting under the hot sun. Azhagi was observing the boy saying all this and seeing him well down the water. When suddenly she had an idea. If she would serve buttermilk to all the artisans and laborers working with them. So Azhagi started preparing buttermilk each and every day with ginger and curry leaves. She would One fine day, while serving buttermilk to the chief architect, Azhagi noticed that he wasn't showing his usual joviality. So she asked what the matter was. He said, Amma, the construction is almost over. We have got granite from far and wide to build the central tower of the temple. But we have not been able to get that one perfect stone. One stone which we can keep on top of the tower and build the dome of it. The inauguration is in a fortnight's time and I really don't know what to do. Azhagi replied, is that so? Why don't we use the old block of stone lying next to my house? When I came to the village as a young guy, I saw that stone for the first time. Nobody could move it, so it became part of the family. Use it. Azhagi said, after recalling some old memories. It was a lie, of course, because Azhagi was never married. In fact, she was so old that nobody knew. But secretly she was wishing inside that the chief architect would somehow agree to use that stone for him. And out of her nerves that she was just throwing some madness in this stone. But luckily for her, the chief architect agreed to use that stone for the temple. And guess what? It just was the perfect stone to create the temple. Finally, 6 years after the groundbreaking ceremony, the temple was complete. And it stood resplendent in all its glory. Standing 216 feet constructed of 13 floors, and of course rested by Azhagi stone weighing 60 tons. Raja Raja Chola's happiness, about. Just the night before the inauguration, Raja Chola had a meeting. And guess who came to pay him a visit? Yes, it was Lord Shiva himself. Lord, did I tell you? Lord Shiva said, Oh great Raja, I am very happy to see your devotion. Your temple indeed is magnificent. And I am so happy to rest under the shelter provided by the lady called Pratim. The king was astounded. He was the one who owned the construction and execution of the temple project. And here was Lord Shiva talking about some lady called Azhagi who didn't even know. So the very next day the Raja sent out men to the kingdom to find out who Azhagi was. Soon, Azhagi was brought in front of the king. After a lot of pleading and prodding, she finally accepted that all that she had done was serve buttermilk to the laborers and donated. The king was so pleased with her devotion that he made Azhagi inaugurate the temple. Soon after her death, he also built a tank in her memory which stands today. Well, my story ends here. I really wish that it had, but it doesn't. You see, there was Toastmasters and friends. None of what I told you right now was mentioned in the Wikipedia article of that particular temple. But I didn't even find a passing mention for the special lady Azhagi. I called my mother in the middle of the night, pick out the comic book from the bookshelf, and read the story to me and refresh my memory. History has many such characters, many such people, dear Toastmasters, whose stories do not find pride of place, even in the Googles of the Wikipedia of the world. It is very sad. These stories survive only the tales told to us by our parents or grandparents, or maybe the folks